Hello, friends! Welcome to Much Ado About Gaming. I hope you're having a great week. I am so excited for the holiday this week. I am here with Geoff Engelstein, the designer behind Super-Skill Pinball Ramp It Up, and I have some bad news. We are having some technical difficulties. I am so sorry. We're not going to be able to do the live stream of the playthrough today, but we are going to talk to Geoff anyway about the game. You know, Geoff was the first guest to ever come on this show. I love talking to him. I am so excited to be able to talk to him today. So we're going to talk about the game a little bit, and what we're probably going to do is pre-record the playthrough so that we can stream it at a later date. Just because you know about these ongoing issues with the camera, if you've been watching the show, and I thought I had it figured out, and I guess I don't. So we are flexible. We are going to work around it, and we have at least an awesome show and an awesome interview with Geoff. Now, of course, Geoff, we unboxed Super-Skill Pinball Ramp It Up last week, so why don't you tell us a little bit about, what drove you to create this second Super-Skill Pinball game? Just tell us about your process. Thank you.
With the response to it, people really got what I was going for in terms of trying to capture the magic of pinball in a board game. But the number one complaint that we heard was, "Hey, where are the ramps?" Something that people like in pinball is going up the ramps and around and circling and stuff like that. And that wasn't something that we had put in at all. I was just concerned about it graphically and how it would work and overlaying and stuff like that. So I actually went back to, we were talking about doing some new stuff. That was at the top of the list, but I went back to your lead graphic designer, Daniel Solis, who's just awesome, and said, "Hey, we're thinking about doing ramps. What could that even look like in a board in this sort of format?" And he came back with like 4 or 5 different layouts for ramps. Could go this way, could go this way, this, and we ended up using just about all of those in this package. So the idea was, hey, if we could, and he was the one that came up with the idea that the ramps would go onto the back glass, which is really the big different feature in this game. Is in the original Super-Skill Pinball, all of the action was on the basic table board like this, but in the new version, we expanded it with the ramps, that the ramps would actually take you up onto the back glass, and there would be some features on the back glass. So all of the tables in this pack have ramps and also take advantage of the expanded real estate given by Villa to actually have the balls move, not just on the main table, but also up onto the back glass and do stuff up there as well.
Sorry, my mic was off for our listeners, so I'm going to start that again. I really love the way the ramps add a kind of different flavor to the gameplay. They add something new and exciting. Super-Skill Pinball 4K was, of course, great and exciting, but really having those extra little bonuses and the creative way you kind of use the mini games on the back glass in different ways for each table was a lot of fun. Can you tell us kind of what inspired the different minigames for each table?
Sure. So Go for Gold was actually, and I think people can see me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the back glass of Go for Gold is actually, there's a pinball machine. It's a kind of a combination of 2 actual pinball machines. There's one called No Good Gophers, I believe, which is golf themed, which I always liked, with these rascally little gophers running around. But there's one called Whitewater, which has, it's sort of a canyon whitewater rafting sort of Western theme to it. And it's got this whole upper area where you can, it's got a flipper up there on a little, like a mezzanine area on the table. And that was really the basis for this whole upper area in Go for Gold. There's one of the things that's really common in pinball machines is the idea of a loop, of a repeating loop. So if you can hit the same target multiple times, in a row without missing, then you start getting increasing bonuses. That was always that's a feature used a lot. One of my pinball machines I used to own, a Star Trek Next Generation machine, had that as a feature, and it's on a lot of pinball machines as well, including the Whitewater. And so that was one of the features that we built into Go for Gold, was this idea of a loop. So when you're on this blue flipper on top, you can go around this flume, and the more you go around consecutively, then you're going to score more and more points. But you have to be able to catch it on the flipper. So it gets harder and harder and harder the more loops that you do. And so that's kind of fun. Or you have the option of going over and kind of bailing out into this lost mine area, which is actually over on this side because I'm reversed. And you can kind of hit these cascading targets, and the will ultimately fall down back onto the board through the thematically called falls. So, basically it enabled us not just have the yellow and the blue zones in this case, but to have the yellow and red zones as traditional, but to also have this whole blue zone, which you have to go through this extra little area. And there's a lot of different strategies there, which I always try to build into these. Like, do you want to, if you go around the loops, you can get a lot of points, but you're really chewing up that blue flipper. Or you can go more slowly and take advantage of the mine and the falls, but then you don't want to do the loops as much because you need the flipper boxes for other things. So that was kind of the way that the Go for Gold one got started. So in terms of the other tables, just bring that here. So then High Roller Heist. Pin pals. Yeah. So High Roller Heist, I've always enjoyed, heist films and heist games has always been something I've always wanted to do. So this was an opportunity to do it. And also, the creative team I was working at with WizKids, they were also really into a heist idea. I liked this concept of, again, that you would start on the board, on the main table, was kind of where the action would, the action of like preparing for the heist would be down on this part. But then when you actually did the heist, when you're going to do the heist, you have to go up onto this back glass here. This one is only 2 rounds. You only get 2 balls. And just a little design note on that in case people are curious about why we did that. Initially, actually, it was the original design idea was that the first round would just be collecting the crew and doing the stuff on the main table, and then the second ball was only doing the heist part of it. So it's similar to in structure of a lot of heist movies, but in the end, we wanted to open it up a little bit more to the players and stuff like that, but we kind of kept that idea of the 2-round structure. And just having all this space here let us put in 3 very different mini games and different types of heists, which I think gives a lot of replayability to this table, depending on what's going on, because you're not going to be able to do. I mean, you could try, but you're going to be better off if you focus on a couple of them here. So for those who haven't seen, the slot machine heist is over here. The casino heist, which has this kind of slot machine metaphor, where you're trying to get different combinations of these symbols: the cherries, the bells, and the bars. In the middle is the diamond heist, where you're trying to, this is actually protected by a keypad, which is sort of an interesting little mechanism. But the first thing you do is you hit this keypad target on the main table, and that actually sets the code here, but it also sets the number of stars you're going to get when you break in. So you want to wait maybe to go in there. If you roll like an 11 or a 12, then you get those nice high numbers, which is going to give you even more stars to get in and do the diamond heist. And then the bank heist, which is this big gold pyramid over here, is like one of my favorite video games, Breakout, where you actually have to break through all the bricks and keep working your way up. So at first you can only hit the bricks on the bottom row, and as you knock those out, you can start and work your way up to the most expensive gold bars that are all the way up at the top of the pyramid. That it's just coming up with those different games, and these went through a lot of iterations, but I'm really happy with where they end up. They all have a different feel to them. They all have different challenges and different techniques that you can use, and different types of crew that you want to hire if you're going to specialize in a certain area. But they all, have that heist flavor. And then just to add to the tension, we've got this guard that moves around, starts down here, and he moves between these 3 different heists or to just his home base. And the fun part about him is actually a couple of things. One, he moves every 10 stars. as you go down. Every time you get 10 stars, he advances to the next space clockwise. So you can kind of control where the guard is and how you want him to gun. But sometimes if you're getting a really big score, you know, you want to just, okay, I'll just deal with getting caught by the guard. And if you do get caught by the guard, I'm finally able to do something that I've always wanted to do in a design, is you get sent to jail, which is over here. So you immediately drop out of the top part, you get sent to jail, and then when you leave jail the next turn, you automatically get out of jail. But if you don't roll doubles, you have to mark off an extra box on your flippers just to escape from jail. So I was able to put in the rules that if you roll doubles, you get out of jail free. So I was very excited about it.
That's so fun.
Designing game with that. It's also the rule that everyone totally remembers. It's like, oh, okay, roll doubles. And jail, that's good.
And just really quick, if you have any questions in the chat, we are live with Geoff, so let us know your question, and I will pass the question along to Geoff to answer. Ministry of Dice, thank you so much for tuning in. We are doing great. We're having some technical issues, so we're not going to be playing live today, but we are going to record a live play for everyone. And so for today, I am interviewing Geoff Engelstein, who is, of course, the designer of Super-Skill Pinball Ramp It Up, which is coming to stores tomorrow. And right now, Geoff is talking about the amazing mini games that are in the back glass of the tables coming in Super-Skill Pinball Ramp It Up.
Yeah. So the third table is Pin Pals, which is a really unique table in the series. In that it is designed, you can't do it by yourself, but it's designed to be played with a partner. That was one of the other big question, comments that we always got is, hey, it's like multiplayer solitaire is what the game is. And look, it was designed to be that. That's what it is. That's what pinball is. Pinball, you're playing by yourself. There's not much, other than just trying to beat the high score or beat the score of the other people that you're playing with at that time. That's what it's about. But I wanted to try something a little bit different. So in Pin Pals, this is a wrestling themed. It's around a tag team. So you have to actually play two tables. So each you have two partners. Each one plays two tables, and they're paired. So this one is El Avocado teams up with Hey Bale Hicks. So Avocado is the avocado, which I always like the avocado guy.
That's so fun.
And you play with a partner, and you each take a table. And then there's certain features on the table, many which are designed to foster this partnership. And one of the key ones is on the back glass here. So this is called the cage, and this has and this is where all your bumpers are up here. And if you and your partner are both in the cage area at the same time, then your scores are both doubled. Any scores that you get from the bumpers. So you want to kind of coordinate and get up there at the same time and stay up there together as long as possible. But that's also dealt with by, there's a lot of other bonuses down here. All of these tag bonuses over here apply to your teammates. Like if you activate multi-ball, you actually are activating multi-ball for your teammate. If you're giving them a double bonus in a certain area, you're giving it to your teammate. If you're giving them a skill shot, you're giving it to your teammate. So you want to try to communicate with them, and that's how you're gonna get your best scores, by talking to them. Where are you? What are you planning on go for? How do we want to coordinate this? How do we want to get these best bonuses, and then go up into the cage together so we can get the bonuses together. So, if you're looking, if you didn't like as much that kind of solitaire or a solo mode feel, or if you're looking to just be a little bit more interactive and try something different, then this was a fun little table to design. And then the last one is Top Speed, which is kind of like a Fast and Furious idea. This is the main table here for Top Speed and back glass. So this one has kind of the simplest back glass in a way, in that the only thing that's happening up on the back glass is this is where multi-ball is activated. You can get onto this green flipper and shoot up to the top to try to hit these nitro targets up here. And if you get all three of these, you get multi-ball. But the other thing that's on here is the speedometer, which is a real fun, exciting feature of this. I wanted to try to capture the idea of going faster and slower in the context of a pinball game. So the way that works is you start at a speed of 0. but then if you hit the gas, there's a gas and brake targets on the main table. Gas increases your speed by 1, and braking decreases your speed by 1. So that's the way it works in a car, and you just mark it off on this speedometer. And if you're, say, at speed 1, you now have to add 1 to all your dice. So now, if you roll a 3, it counts as a 4. If you roll a 6, it counts as a 7. And you can get all the way up ultimately to speed 3, which means you could roll as high as a 9. And you'll even see that over here that there's some of these targets will actually need these higher numbers. So now the numbers on the targets go all the way up to 9.
Wow.
So the table is designed so that the highest value targets are at the high speeds. Like some of these targets in here are all the high numbers, and some of the bumpers you need to get 7s, 8s, and 9s. So you really need to get your speed up to get those big bonuses. But your flippers down on the bottom tend to be the lower numbers. So the faster you're going, the harder it is to catch your ball on the flipper.
Right.
So you need to kind of constantly be, okay, we're going to speed up to try to get this, but now I got to slow down or else I'm going to lose the ball and stuff like that. So that's top speed, which is probably the most, I wouldn't say complex, but certainly is one of the easier tables as you're managing your speed and trying to shift up and shift down in essence between these higher and lower speeds.
That's super interesting, yeah. And could you actually talk about kind of, this is very speaking of thinky things, mechanically, kind of from a game mechanics approach, the way the different tables like apply different game mechanics besides just being pinball, because that's what I think a lot of people miss about games like this is like it's not just replicating pinball. There's mechanics there that gamers will be familiar with, but they may not realize that they're in place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the key thing here is that, and I find it intriguing when I read some of the comments and things that people make on BGG and stuff like that, is some people will play half a game or whatever and just dismiss it and say,
never read the comments.
That's why I found out people wanted ramps. Otherwise, I never would have made ramps. People say, oh, it's all luck. It's just whatever the dice get, whatever. And that is definitely not the case here. Certainly when you're rolling this many dice, there's an element of luck. But that can be part of the excitement. Sometimes it's like, hey, I really need a 6. I really got to get a 6. But there's a lot of built-in ways to mitigate that. So first off, you're making decisions. You're kind of educated decisions about the risks that you want to take. So, like we're talking about Go for Gold, which I'm looking forward to playing with you at a future time. Like those loops. Do I want to go for the loops now, or do I want to wait until I have my triple loop bonus activated? Do I want to get multi-ball as quickly as possible, or do I want to just kind of set myself up and then save my multi-ball for the beginning of the next round? So there's a lot of just those sort of decisions that are going to have a really big impact on how well that you do in the game. But then we also give people risk mitigation tools. If you don't if you really, there's certain numbers that you actually have to hit. You can earn what are called skill shots, which lets you lock in a number that you can substitute in at a future time if you don't like the numbers that were rolled on the dice. That was it. I guess you did that. For those of you that didn't see, I love these dice so much. So now they have these lovely pink and blue dice. Aren't those great?
I love them so much. They're so fun.
If you're not happy with the numbers on those lovely pink dice, then you can instead use up your skill shot. And so that's another way that you can kind of bank and say, okay, I got the skill shot. What am I going to be going for in the future? What are my priorities? And then one of my favorite mechanisms in the game, the tilt mechanic. You can actually nudge the table if you want to change the dice to a different number. You can basically kind of elbow the table a little bit, bump it, and switch the die to a different number. And you can do that up to 3 times in the game, but there's some risk associated with it. When you do it the next time you roll the dice, the next time the dice are rolled, if the difference between the 2 dice is less than the amount that how much you change the die, if you change from 4 to a 5, that you're only changing it 1. So the only time you're going to be less is if you roll doubles on the next time, then the machine tilts and that round is over and you have to go on to the next round. So it's all about calculated risk. It's all about, trying to mitigate the risk, decide when to take that chance, what's really important, when to just, let things go. And a lot of these little subtle details. One of the ones that a lot of people maybe don't realize at first, which was a way that I wanted to kind of introduce choice into the game, is at the bottom of these. You have these flippers here at the bottom that you catch the ball on. But one of the things you also have is you have these outlanes here, the 1 and the 6. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you go out one of those, you lose the ball, but you get a bonus of 2 stars per box that you have filled in. So you could get up to another bonus of 6 stars if you go out the side. And I really like that mechanism, because at first people are like, well, why would I go, I'm not going to go out the side if it doesn't make any sense for me to go out the side if I'm just going to lose the ball. It's like, well, if you're getting close to the end, and yeah, maybe I got a couple of boxes over here, maybe I can go through one more time, but if I roll that 1 or a 6, do I want to just take that bonus now? Is that something I just want to lock in that bonus and not take the risk later that I'm going to miss it? Or do I want to, I'll catch the ball on this 3 and then hope that the next time that the balls come back down to the flipper that I get a 1 or a 6? Or maybe I want to take a 1 or a 6 as a skill shot and lock that in so that I know that I can always go in the outlanes. So just this subtle little feature here that if you go out on the sides, you lose the ball, but you get a bonus, adds a lot of really interesting tactical decisions for the players on what they want to do and how they want to play the game.
Yeah, I really love how strategic the game is, and how, despite having all this deep strategy, it's pretty simple to understand. It's pretty simple to learn. I find it really easy to pick up. So now I want to shift to 4K for a second. 4K is, of course, the first Super-Skill Pinball game. It came out last year around September or October. So you've been playing that now for a year. What has been your most dramatic win, your most dramatic loss, your most exciting moment with Super-Skill Pinball 4K?
Are you asking me that question?
Yes. Oh, I'm asking you that question. I'm also curious if anyone in the chat wants to share theirs. I would love to hear.
I have had some very exciting moments on Disco Fever, that table. And it's interesting because the way that one works is you can actually, there's a separate little mini pinball table on the back glass of that one that you can activate under certain points. That's a Disco Fever bonus. Tables dancing. And you can, there are certain targets that you can hit that will actually erase the flippers in that little mini game area.
Right.
And so if you really are focusing on it, and if you have a little bit of luck and a little bit of guts, if you nudge here and there, you can keep the ball up there a really long time. And as you do it, there's this fever bonus that keeps building and building and building.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really, it can get very tense and very dramatic and very exciting. And I've managed to keep it up there way longer than ever I thought I would. Every roll is like, oh, I need a 4 this time. Come on. And you just hit it, so it's very exciting.
Mm-hmm. That sounds super fun. See, Dance Fever I think is the one I've played the least from the first game. I played a lot of Carnival, obviously because I demonstrated it a lot when it was coming out. But, it's so much fun. And now this new one with all these new tables. I've played Go for Gold, but I've played the most of Pin Pals. Because it was something that, because working for WizKids, it was something that we went through a couple of times to try it out and kind of get the feel for the co-op situation. And it's amazing how you get used to playing the game in one way, and then you have to shift your strategy completely to, play co-op with a partner where you're not just being very for yourself anymore. You're not focusing on what do I need. You suddenly are, every step of your strategy is this going to benefit my partner? And it can no longer be, is this going to benefit me? And I mean, it creates some frustrating situations when, you know, your partner makes a choice that you don't agree with. But I like the amount of communication it brings into the game too. Because a lot of when I played the first game was very, just everyone being very quiet and intense and focused and yelling out the numbers when the dice were rolled, but otherwise being like, you know,
Everyone's got their head down, kind of in their old thing.
yeah.
Then you perk back up later to see
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So this definitely turns that dynamic on its head.
Absolutely. It's fun to, when I was playing this, there's YouTube videos where you can play like pinball arcade ambiance. And so that's what I use. I mean, there's another music album that I definitely also listen to while I play this game that I can't say the title of on this show, but if you know, you know. But arcade ambiance is also a good choice, and it really gets you into suddenly it feels like you're playing a physical, actual pinball machine, and I think that's so cool.
I will have to try that. I haven't tried that with the musical accompaniment.
It's so fun.
Next time.
David Hargis says, I recently picked up the first game. I love it. Picked it up to give as a Christmas gift as well. I think this one does make a great choice as a Christmas gift. You know, both games.
It's very accessible, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to learn. People know right away. You know, and that's always, you know, for me, that's kind of like the gold standard when you're writing rules or designing a game is that idea of metaphor.
Absolutely.
You want things to work the way people are expecting to work. You know?
Mm-hmm.
The buffers work the way, you know, as much as possible, we had everything in this game work like its pinball counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that really helps teach stuff and explain it, like nudging the table and tilting. You know, people get that concept right away.
Absolutely. And it's also fun to, like, I haven't done this yet, but I imagine, like, going to an arcade and, like, it's a busy Saturday and so you're waiting on the pinball machine and you could just break this out and, you know, play it while you're waiting, or just be like, hey, person on the pinball machine, come check this out, and then you can snag the pinball machine while they're distracted with the amazing pinball tabletop game. And then also that introduces more people to the game, and maybe that's just me being a weirdo, but...
I'll tell you, I mentioned that I've owned a pinball machine pretty much all my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I usually when I get to, we sell it. Well, you know, pinball machines are nice because they're like fancy cars, right? That they preserve their value to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, we can buy a machine, enjoy it for a few years, and then 4 or 5 years, and then sell it. List it and sell it and buy a new one. So we've been through. I always have a pinball machine in the house, and the main I have a main guy who's kind of a pinball dealer that I know that I usually get my machines from. He helps me facilitate selling it, but I sent him the game, and
Mm-hmm.
he loves it. He's not a board gamer at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a pinball guy. He's got like an insane number of pinball machines in his basement, like 700 or something. It's really it's a crazy place to be.
Mm-hmm.
But he loves it, and he's helped publicize it, and posts about it, and puts it in his newsletter, and occasionally he brings a few copies to sell it at pinball shows and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's definitely has crossover appeal.
And that's so cool. Yeah, I remember one of the reviewers who loved it was the team over at This Week in Pinball, and they loved how it felt like real pinball, and I think that's something that's really rare for a game, especially a game with this kind of simple. I hesitate to say simple because there's a lot going on with the mechanics, but I think what's the word? I had this problem the last time I interviewed you. There was a word that's like breezy kind of mechanics. And yeah. I forgot what the word is, and I forget what the word is now. I'm going to just put it on a Post-it. Elegant, yes. That is a perfect word for what it is. The elegant mechanics. And I think it's so fantastic that it's so approachable to so many different people. And, it has that nostalgia factor. I just think it's utterly fabulous. Do you have anything else you want to mention about the game? Talk about?
Do we want to talk about the special secret surprise bonus that's coming out?
Yes, of course. Why don't you give them the lowdown? Because they can see you and they can't see me.
Okay. Well, as a fun little surprise for Super-Skill Pinball fans, I created a Christmas-themed table called So it's the night before, and it's all about reindeer landing on your roof and getting
Yay.
gifts and bouncing around a Christmas tree bumpers. We had it absolutely fabulously illustrated by Donald Haggerty, who's he's done some work for me on some other projects, and he just knocked this one out of the park. It looks like, you know, the old-fashioned kind of Christmas cartoons, and we're going to be releasing that for free. It's going to be a new print and play that you can download, it should be available within a couple of days. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be posted, but if not this week, then hopefully by next week it'll be available, and then you can download it and enjoy it. So that's just something pretty short. It's not going to be in an official set. It's just something that we wanted to make and get out there. And I'll give a little pro tip for if you, depending on the tools that you have, it's fun to kind of print these out, and you can laminate them for the print plays. But they also work great if you just can play them on a computer screen, and you get a program that will just let you draw little shapes and stuff on things. You can just mark off boxes and things on the screen, and you don't necessarily have to print it out to play. It's still nice to roll the dice on the desk. That's the way I do all my play testing. A little insight into my process. I do everything in Adobe Illustrator and just play testing right in there.
Smart.
So that's another way that you can use it for that. I'm going to waste any printer making, but we're excited that to come out, and I'm looking forward to people just getting a little extra bonus.
I am so excited to get my hands on that. You heard it here, technically second, but first, I say, you heard it here first, folks.
There you go.
Christmas Super-Skill Pinball Table, free print and play. It should be coming this week. It might be coming next week. I don't know the exact date, but the best place that you can find out about that is WizKids social media. We are WizKids Games on Twitter and Instagram. We are WizKids on Facebook. Thank you so much, Geoff, for coming on the show. Super-Skill Pinball Ramp It Up is coming November 24th. That is tomorrow. It is hitting friendly local game stores and online. The game, as you can see on the screen, plays 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, in about 30 minutes, and it is $24.99. And we are just so excited about this. You should pick this one up. Bring it to Thanksgiving dinner. It's perfect to play with your family. Older relatives will appreciate the nostalgia of playing on the pinball machines, remembering the days of their youth, and younger family members will just really enjoy the visuals, the gorgeous colors, and the gameplay strategy. Geoff, where can our fans reach you on social media if they want to give you a follow?
Best place would be on Twitter. It's at G Engelstein, which is GenGelstein.
G Engelstein on Twitter. That is where you can follow Geoff Engelstein, the designer of Super-Skill Pinball. Pester him about making more Super-Skill Pinball. You can say Jessa sent you. I have no problem with that. If you want to follow me on social media, I am at _Blackthorne. Blackthorne spelled BLACKTHORNE, or I am Jessa Blackthorne on Facebook. I hope everyone has a wonderful week and a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you again, Geoff, for coming on the show. I really have loved talking to you and interviewing you. And I cannot wait to make this playthrough with you in the next week or two, hopefully. And we'll post that right on our YouTube channel so that you all can check it out. We'll probably stream it live as an episode of Much Ado About Gaming, so that people can enjoy and play along with Super-Skill Pinball, and, we'll hang out in the chat and answer any questions. It'll be a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Geoff. As a reminder, next week, not next week, what am I saying? Tomorrow on Model Behavior, the WizKids RPG Showcase, I will be unboxing the full set of The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and I am so excited. That is D&D Icons of the Realms. So tune into that tomorrow at noon. WizKids Facebook, WizKids YouTube, WizKids Twitch channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, a wonderful Thanksgiving if you are celebrating. I love you. WizKids loves you. Geoff Engelstein loves you. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.